So I built a six-figure business at the age of 20. And before you start to assume, no, it wasn't through SMMA, drop shipping, or even selling a digital course. So if you're new to the channel, I'm sure most of you will be. My name is Roman Logan. I help businesses secure investment capital at a 0% interest rate. In the last year, we funded over $10 million to small businesses doing $0 in revenue all the way up into $6 million in revenue. I was able to grow this company from 0 to 6 figures in under 6 months, and I'm going to essentially tell you the story of how I was able to do it. And while I tell the story of my journey, I'm going to give you a few key points that has helped me, and hopefully it will help somebody in your journey. So we're started off around sophomore year of high school. I'd say this is when the key parts of the story can take place. Of course, stuff has happened before then, but I deem it as irrelevant now. Now, quick backstory, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. In St. Louis, a lot of the high schools there is very, let's just say it's very, it's something, right? If you're not playing sports or if you're not doing certain things, it's pretty hard to, I don't want to say fit in, but find that crowd of people. It's very much based on popularity, and typically it's the athletes who are more popular in the schools there. I started to run track my sophomore year of high school. Now, it just started off as something, just doing it here and there, but I progressively got better and better and better. Long story short, won state my sophomore year. In the 4x4, I didn't have an individual championship yet, but I got pretty good at it. And then, although I was running track, I was always exposed to different entrepreneurship, I guess you say ventures on YouTube. I was watching Patrick Bet-David at the time. I was watching Tai Lopez at the time, because I always knew deep in my mind that there was a way other than sports, a way other than rapping, a way other than entertainment. I just didn't know what that was. I didn't know what that avenue was just yet. So I guess you can say I was exposed to entrepreneurship through YouTube. I was exposed to the different possibilities, although I was still running track. At the time when I really started to dig into it, I really started to do my work. It has been around the time I was going to regionals. I won regionals in AAU, if you guys are familiar with that, on my way to nationals. Cool. Now, what I will say is, although I did win state my sophomore year in the relay, I wasn't the top guy in the state. At the time, it was Justin Robinson, right? 44.8 in the 400. I spent those 2 years trying to get better. Junior year, COVID didn't have a season, but we did have a little bit outdoor AAU meets in Alabama, Florida. Senior year, that's when I started to grow. That's when I started to develop, but it was the work that I put in junior year that allowed me to become the athlete that I was going into senior year. And that takes me into the first point. If you do the necessary work, results are a guarantee. Now, you may not get those results as soon as you start. That's okay. The thing about running is it's really about the work you put in. You cannot cheat yourself in running. You cannot miss days and expect to perform at the best level. So I was outside, right? In St. Louis, it snows during the winter time. I was working hard, running hills in the snow, 6 inches of snow, because I knew that my competitors down in Texas, it's 70 degrees, it's 80 degrees in January. So they have the ability to run fast times. The thing is, about my senior year, I did go undefeated in the 100, the 400, and I lost one race in the 200. So I went 19 for 20. Kind of did a lot of races, but it was because I was recruited late. If you don't know a thing about track and field is, it's not like football where you have all these dozens of scholarships. I think it's about 12.6 at the Division I level that you have to divide between the whole team. Scholarship money isn't as common, I guess you would say. It's not as common as you will see in football, or yes, you will see in basketball. You can get offers if you're pretty decent, right? So fast forward, let's say to the state championships. I won state in the 400 meter. I got second in the 200. That was actually the first race I lost for that season. It felt good at the time, to have that state championship, to know that the work that I've been putting in the last couple of years actually came into fruition and actually paid off. But I still knew that track wasn't the way for me. And it's funny because I received backlash from my coaches. I received backlash from my mom and dad, because essentially I had the golden ticket. I was recruited late into the season. Funny enough, I signed to a school in May. I changed my mind. I know a lot of coaches feel some type of way about that. Decommitted from that school and signed to a school late July. And it's funny, when I did this, it wasn't one of the schools that I wanted to go to. To be honest, I wanted to go to a Baylor. I wanted to go to an Alabama at the time. I wanted to go to USC. These were all great schools in the quarter mile, but it just wasn't the thing that God had set over my life. And I will say, at the time, I wasn't fully mature as I am now. Not to say I'm this ultimately mature person, but at the time, I still had some learning to do. And I was comparing myself to my friends. A lot of my friends were top of the nation. A lot of my friends were highly recruited. They were going to the USCs, they were going to the LSUs, they were going to the Floridas, the Texas A&M. If you're in track, you know, 2021, those were the schools, right? I signed to a small Division I school in St. Charles, Missouri, and I felt a little bummed out, not gonna lie. They gave me a great scholarship. I still wanted to go to those Baylors, the USCs, right? And that brings me into my second point, that it is absolutely okay not to achieve a goal when you first set out for it. The thing I didn't understand at the time is our timing and God's timing, not the same thing. At the time, I was running and all my friends, I said, I'm training with folks on Team Jamaica, training with people on the Trinidad and Tobago team, training with some of the top runners in the nation in high school. All I knew was greatness at the time. All I knew was it's either that or nothing. But when I didn't achieve that top P5 level, I felt discouraged. Oftentimes we would put a time clock on our goals based on worldly standards. One thing I had to learn is God's timing is always on time. His blessings are never late. And I didn't really understand that fully at the time because I was so consumed with track and field. I was so consumed with the fact that I'm winning race after race after race, that I'm getting these follows from the coaches on Twitter. I'm getting the follows from the coaches on Instagram. And I'm thinking that's what God had set for my life. I'm thinking that I'm going to go to a Baylor or a USC or an Alabama. But God didn't have that set of my life. And I'm actually super excited that I didn't do that, because had I gone that route, had I gone all in on track, had I not started my business, I wouldn't be where I am now, right? So it's okay, because we can only see right here. God sees out there. So it's okay that I didn't achieve those goals. It's okay if you're not achieving your goals when you first set out for it. And that's where I am now. So let's get back into the story. This is going to be a very pivotal point in this journey, I guess you want to say, right? So senior year of high school, 2021, AU Nationals, Houston, Texas, right? Funny enough, because I'm in Houston, Texas now. So it's kind of funny how this all circles up. But I was going for nationals, obviously, the 100, 200, and the 400. But I started to see videos on YouTube. Like I said before, I was always trying to find different ways on how to get into entrepreneurship, how to make that extra stream of income, right? I was always a kid of how to make an extra $50 online, right? I was a kid who wasn't mowing the grass, a kid who was shoveling the snow, doing anything I could to make that extra income. So the entrepreneurship spirit was always in me. While I was in Houston, that same weekend, there just happens to be an entrepreneurship event going on, kind of like downtown. It was Him 500 and Wall Street Trapper. I've seen them on the Social Proof podcast the week before. It's crazy how everything lines up, but now I know it's only God. It's only God who can do something like this. I saw them on the Social Proof podcast the week before, saw that he had an event. I looked and just happened to be that same day. Absolutely free. Me and my dad went, and it was game-changing information. Well, a game-changing environment. So I'll be real, at the time, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I couldn't tell you a thing about credit. I couldn't tell you a thing about stocks. I just knew that was the type of room that I wanted to be in. I knew that was the type of room that would help me go to wherever I'm trying to go, because I know it's exposure that allows you to expand. You won't know the possibilities in life if you don't go out and explore, if you don't go out and see what there is in life. Because you're trapped in this bubble, you don't understand that it's so much more to life. Fish who's living in a nice sized aquarium, they may think they have it going on, they may think their life is good, but they don't know there's millions of fish living their best life in the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, because that fish that's in the aquarium only knows the aquarium. They don't know the ocean. So you have to go out in it. So now let's go into my freshman year of college. But freshman year of college, you know, running track, life was good, made a lot of friends, tried out a few courses. Like I said, I was still making a little bit of money. Like I said, I am a musician, so I would go down to the stadium with my now business partner. We would play guitar in front of Busch Stadium in St. Louis. So I was making a little bit of money to be able to invest into different courses, to be able to invest in different programs. Cryptocurrency course, I did an NFT course, I did a rental car course, right? I did it all, just trying to see what it was that was going to be for me, you know? So I ventured out. I would say freshman year was a great year. Something I did not mention yet, I wasn't feeling school my senior year. I knew that entrepreneurship was for me. I didn't have that proof of concept yet. I didn't have that. Coming from parents who aren't business owners, they want the security that school provides for most people. And I just didn't have that just yet. I made an agreement with my mother. I said, hey, if I get my business to 6 figures, $100,000, you have to let me go out on my own. Because, you know, for her, 6 figures was set, right? Most people aren't making that. As much as I love my mother, she was not making that. So it seems like it was an impossible goal. But for me, I know that's what it would have to take. I didn't do it freshman year though, so let's go on to that summer. So I was still trying out the different courses, didn't know what it was that was going to get me to where I was trying to go, but I did have the vision, and that leads me on to my third point. You don't have to know everything to begin. Just start, because as you start, the puzzle pieces are going to start to fill in. As you start, the questions will start to formulate. But if you don't start, if you have that procrastination, you would never get those questions. You would never have everything figured out when you first start. Trust and believe, right? I didn't know what it was going to be for me. Like I said, I tried all the courses, but it wasn't the thing for me. I just had to start to actually figure it out. The little inputs every day that makes you into the person that deserves to reap those rewards. Going back to track and field in high school, right? I was not the athletic person. Anyone in my family, anyone of my friends would tell you I was not the most confident athlete. I just was not. Right, but it was those everyday inputs that allowed me to get to where I was. So now it's May 2022 at the time. I said I had a little side gigs with the music, but I wasn't making enough money to sustain myself because we were only going down to the stadium, right, to play at the baseball games, and those were only seasonal. So I picked up a job at UPS. I was busting those boxes. I'm talking about it was super easy for me at the time, because shoot, I was a Division I track athlete, right? All that work was easy to me. Taking the boxes, put on the truck. I'm talking about I'm loading 3-4 trucks a night. But I was doing it because I had no ego, right? A lot of people I see when they're first starting out is they don't want to work the job because they say, oh, you work the 9 to 5, you do this. Understand, it was the money that I had coming in from UPS that allowed me to invest into these different things and allowed me to invest into a conference, right? August 2022, went to the InvestFest conference with my family, went to the Circle of CEOs conference in September of 2022, all because of the money I made in UPS. So I worked there from May to September. I made some good money there, but again, it was what allowed me to invest into these conferences, allowed me to get into these rooms, what allowed me to get more information. And it was that Circle of CEOs conference in September that gave me the vehicle. By vehicle, I mean the thing that's going to drive me to my destination. At the time, it was just being able to leave school. It was that conference that gave me the information to learn about business funding, to learn about helping businesses acquire capital so they can invest in themselves. It was at that conference where I learned what I know now, but it was also at that conference where I got into rooms like no other. Before that day, I've never been in rooms of people making $1 million in a day, $5 million in a day. 2 years ago, had you told me someone can make $100,000 in a single day, not that I wouldn't believe it, I wouldn't see how it would be possible. And it was because of that conference that I started to study the space more, right? It was because of that conference that, to be honest, I was missing class at school. And this is when I started to get into disputes with my coaches, with my academic advisors, because at the time, I wasn't doing my schoolwork. And now I apologize to my coaches. If any of you guys are watching this, I do apologize, because that's how you feed your family. You feed your family by making sure your athletes are doing well. I was not doing well, and I do sincerely apologize for that. But I was really studying my craft. I was really studying business. I wasn't putting much time to actually studying schoolwork. So this is all fall, right? My grades are not the best, but I'm learning the skill set. And the opportunity was presented December of 2022 to invest into a program that was going to allow me to learn the skill set at a very high level. It was a mentorship. Now the thing is, I didn't have any money. I wasn't working at UPS anymore because I didn't have the time because of practices with track. Remember, I was still a Division I athlete trying to do all this. So I still had the 2 practices. I still had the classes. Well, the classes I was taking on my own. I didn't have the time to balance because I was doing a night shift with UPS. I was working from 11 p.m. to around 9 in the morning. I had the dexterity to do it, but that plus school plus learning on the outside, it just wasn't feasible. So I didn't have any money at the time in December. So what I did, I sold everything. I sold all of my, I guess you would say, commodities. I sold my guitars. I sold my laptop, I sold my iPad, I sold shoes, I sold everything to be able to get into this program. And that brings me to my 4th point. You just have to go all in on your goal. Understand, I knew this was this or nothing. Although I was in it, it wasn't really an option. I didn't see myself catching back up with my grade. I knew that I was deferring classes to go to the next semester. I wasn't gonna have time to do those either. So I had to go all in on these specific goals. It was this or nothing. So I sold everything. Understand that it's going to be hard to separate your intention if you're not going all in on a goal. If you have a 4 cup and you try to put 25% attention into each cup, 1 cup will never get full. Right? You have to fill 1 cup so that it can actually overflow. Understand that I did not have a plan B. It was either this or nothing, but you can't pray and worry about the same situation, right? Understand that I serve a God who is almighty. I serve a God who has never failed me, right? I cannot pray to him about a situation and get worried about that same situation. It doesn't work like that, right? So what I did is I learned the material that's in the program and I started to make content about it. And now trust me, it was very, very weird. And here is why. I'm this Division I track athlete, out of nowhere start posting about business credit. So you can see how that was kind of weird. You can see how my coaches was like, Ramon, what are you doing, bro? And honestly, I just stayed consistent. I blocked out all the noise. I just stayed consistent because I understood this was going to change my life. People, my coaches, whoever it may have been, they weren't going to understand the work that I was putting in. They have not been to where I was trying to go. Therefore, I'm going to have to stay consistent. I'm going to have to block everybody out because I know the trajectory is going to go on, and it started to take off. Around February, I grew my following on Facebook to over 10,000 followers. I was able to get clients from that, and I was just testing it out, right? Just testing different systems, see what works, see what doesn't work, but it allowed me to get my feet wet, right? To get off the ground. So I'm continuing to work, and March of 2023, right? 2023 now, I went out to Vegas, right? With my friend Jaden, with my friend Bryson. It was eye-opening. Bryson was doing well in his business, right? Making millions of dollars. He had his Rolls Royce Cullinan, right? I'm right in the back, feeling good, but it really opened my eyes like, okay, this is what happens when you bet on yourself. This is what happens when you go all in on your goals. I was supposed to be there for a week. I stayed there for 3.5 weeks. Now, best believe this was an issue with my coaches. In fact, one of my coaches sent me this message the day before I left. And he sent this because I was not going to any of my classes. At that time, around March, because my content had blown up, I was starting to get bookings on my calendar. So my business is going up, my grades, they're coming down. But at this time, God is continuously blessing me, right? May, I did my first in-person event. It was amazing. Had people coming out just from posting my content. I started doing coaching, right? I had people come and bring me into their programs to do online coaching. This is during June of 2023. In August of 2023, I did a $10,000 gas giveaway. Y'all can actually see the video right here. But it was because of the work I was putting in December, January, February that allowed my business to just snowball, and get bigger and bigger. And it was from that gas giveaway that we did that really made the difference. That was really when I started to get those better clients. Because at first, it was just people, you know, family, friends. Then from there, they have referrals, so I would help the referrals, and they help those referrals. But it wasn't until that gas giveaway that we did that I started to actually get the clientele that I really wanted. Getting the clientele who are paying me $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 for what I do. Oh yeah, and by the way, I made my 6 figures by then. I'll be real with you, I was so focused on working, I didn't know I had crossed it by then. But it was actually July of 2023 that I did. So guess what? No more school. I wasn't in school. Show my mom the Stripe account, show her the bank statements. It was all there. I documented the full process, right? And I'm glad I did because now I can show others, like maybe someone who's watching this video, what's possible when you put the work in. Again, this was all in a whim. I was a Division I athlete. And I know some of you who are watching this now, because I know a lot of people who I ran track with ask me for business advice because they want to start. They think, well, okay, what if somebody thinks this about me or thinks that about me? Honestly, like I said, you just have to block out the noise. I guess let's make that a last and final point. Block out the noise because the work that you're putting in, God put that vision in your mind. It's not going to make sense to those who are doubting you because God didn't give them that mission. He gave it to you. Now understand, God's work will always get done. So if you're not going to do it, he's going to give it to somebody else to get done. So just do it and your blessings will flow. And by then I've made my money. I wasn't in school anymore. And that was pretty much that story. It was very, it was different, right? I say I was the first person in my family to really take that journey. And I just trusted in God, trusted in myself as well. And I'm glad that I did it. And as I think back on it, sometimes I'll get a DM, hey, do you have any regrets? Because like I said, everyone in the area in St. Louis knew me for track. They say, hey, do you have any regrets? And honestly, I thought I did back then. Remember, I said I wanted to go to the big Power 5 schools. I wanted to win nationals. That was another goal I had at the time, right? I thought that's what I wanted, but now I see it shape me into everything I need to be today, right? And I don't regret that at all. Anything that happens is for a reason. And I am a sole believer in that. It took me a while to get there, but I truly believe it. And that's my story, right? I hope everybody gets, or somebody gets some value from this, right? Remember, if you are in school, if you have that vision to change your life, just do it, man. What can go wrong? The worst that can happen is you just go back to how you're living now. Take that leap of faith, right? Bet on yourself. And remember, you don't have to be a rapper, an athlete, an entertainer to be able to change your life or change others' life. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.